Hey everyone, it says I'm live and thank you so much for joining. There are so many questions that just keep pouring in about the reservation rescue project, the horse gentling project. And I thought, the best way is for me to just have a conversation with you all. So feel free to send in your questions um, and I'll try to address as many of them as I can. So, if you have been following the work that we've been doing, we have been doing some rescues that are reservation horses. So, these are horses. Hey, Kathy, thanks for joining. These are horses that are living on reservations that are rounded up. And ultimately, we're trying to get as many of them as we can into safe places. But a lot of people are very familiar with reservation horses and roundups. And I've been rescuing horses for going on 22 years now. And back in 2013 was our first big reservation rescue. So we've been doing this for a long time, over a decade. We've been helping reservation horses. And we have seen a lot of different things, and there's a lot of questions that everyone has about reservation horses. So I'm going to share with you my first experience of reservation horses and the reservation rescue. So, like I said, the first rescue we did was back in 2013, and there was, I want to say, like 300 horses that were rounded up off the reservation. So Indian reservations have horses on them. Some of these horses have been here for a very, very long time, just generation after generation. Some horses are released and end up in herds. And so reservations have a lot of horses on them. If you ever are able to, drive through reservations and you're taking the time to look, you'll end up seeing wild horses if you just take the time. And earlier this year, I was out on the Navajo reservation and we went up on this hill and we were looking and looking for horses. And I didn't really see any at first. And we were up there with our binoculars. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a herd right there. And we drove right past them. They were like right off the road. So you have to be very observant. And looks like Jason is joining. He didn't know I was going to do this. So he's probably like, oh, what are we doing? We're doing a live on YouTube. Oh, Tawnee's talking. Okay. Well, he'll remember a lot of this from back in 2013 when we did our first reservation rescue. So it was in Nevada. There's a slaughter plant that owns a feedlot in Nevada near the auctions. So these horses that are sold at these auctions in Nevada, they were taken directly from the auction to the feedlot, which is still owned to this day. At last I checked, at least 2 years ago, by a slaughterhouse in Canada. So as they get these horses, they would hold them up and ship them off in semi trucks. And we were notified it was about 300 horses were going to be auctioned off, and they had been rounded up from the reservations and taken to the auctions. So horses that are on land, that are reservation land, it is the reservation's responsibility to manage their horse population. Horses that are on Forest Service land, it is the Forest Service's responsibility to manage their horse population. And then on the Bureau of Land Management, you have the BLM, which basically everyone's familiar with the BLM roundups and all of that. And then also like state land, there's horses rounded up off of state land. So for an example of that, in Nevada, the state rounded up a group of horses that was on state land, and they actually took them to a jail, a human jail, where they put them for a little while. Mm-hmm. And then we went and picked them up from the jail There wasn't like a wild horse training program or anything. It was just where the state took their horses, but we took them instead of horses going to the auction. So we do have a question from Julie about, do we geld horses before adoption? Yes, we do geld horses before adoption. We do transfer to other rescues horses in this program if they have a vet and they have a gelding program. We also have our gelding assistance program that rescues can utilize as well. So horses can be rounded up from a variety of situations. But basically, whichever land they're on, that's where those horses are going to be rounded up from. So the BLM has all this money. They round up all these horses all the time and send them to holding facilities. They have an adoption program. A lot of these horses are going to slaughter. I see them in the slaughter pipeline all the time. And it's really, really quite sad. The reservations have these horses. There's no fences, I just want to add, that are keeping horses out from reservation land and BLM land, and they border. So if you can imagine horses on the Bureau of Land Management can just walk over to the reservation, vice versa. So horses are being rounded up. And once they're rounded up, if they're on the reservation, they have nowhere for these horses to go. But in the United States, every horse has a slaughter price on its head, and there are kill buyers who have contracts who gather, as soon as the horses are gathered up and they're for sale, they take them. And I know hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of horses are going down to Mexico for slaughter. But when we first started doing work on the reservation, so like our gelding programs and all of these things, I found that there was a lot of people that they didn't want their horses to be slaughtered, and they wanted these horses to have a good life. And a lot of their culture is very much wrapped up in the horse, and horses are being rounded up. They don't have a huge budget to take care of these horses. So these horses are breeding on the reservation lands, and when the winters are really cold, these horses have no program really, other than the only program that the reservations have is rounding them up in large groups and calling up contractors who have contracts with them and saying, hey, I've got 50 horses, I have 100 horses. The only people that are taking 50, 100 horses at a time are people that are shipping horses. And that's the only way they can have that many horses constantly leaving the reservations is, they have 100 go, next month they have another 100, and they have contracts. So we have been working very, very diligently to try and get the horses that are on these reservations resources. And so the last several years we've been doing providing gelding funding for these welfare clinics going on in the reservation. But we're finding out when we go to Washington, D.C., that basically the SAFE Act is not moving forward because they're looking at the wild horses on the reservation. They have nowhere for them to go other than the slaughter pipeline. So in order for these horses to have somewhere to go, they don't want to shut the borders down. And that's one of the reasons the SAFE Act has not passed year after year after year, is because there are those that are looking at it from a standpoint of, you know what? We need to keep the slaughter pipeline open because there's nowhere for reservation horses to go. And that's one of the main reasons the SAFE Act has not passed. So in order for us to end slaughter, we have to look at the Wild Horse Reservation project and be like, okay, so let's help these horses and let's figure out how to do it. So we're working really hard, and I've got some amazing folks that I'm working with. And it, just all these kind of like puzzle pieces are coming together to help build this program. But I can tell you, it is this insane amount of work. It is so incredibly challenging to make all of these pieces work. Um, and I'm hoping a year, 2 years from now, we're like, okay, phew, we got through this program, and now we're actually able to run it more sustainably, and we have funding for it. But for right now, it is a colossal project that we are doing our very, very best to make it happen, but it's very challenging. So we work with For the Love of the Hoof, and if you follow the Horse Rescue Heroes season, there's a whole season with them when they are trying to get the grant for the Full Circle of Life grant. So they are in Arizona. So part of the trick of getting reservation horses is when they're on the reservation and they're rounded up, they're in Arizona. If a horse crosses into another state, they have to have a health certificate in Coggins if we're a rescuer and a good person in good standing. If you're a kill buyer, you're able to just swoop these horses up and ship them to the border because they're slaughter horses. They don't need all this stuff, and there's no one overseeing this. So as rescuers are trying to help, we are in the spotlight. We are low-hanging fruit for those who don't particularly like horses getting help. And we are scrutinized by government entities. We don't receive government funding, but we're scrutinized. So if the state and government are like, wait a minute, this rescue just got these horses. Did they have health certificates? Did they have Coggins? Did they have all these things? And this has happened to every single rescue that has openly said, hey, we just helped these horses. Whether they have the health certificates, Coggins, or anything like that, this is how rescues are treated in the United States. Yet traders and kill buyers can take load after load of horses, and nobody's doing oversight because they're slaughter horses at that point. And that's just a whole, I could probably talk for way too long about that because I find that extremely irritating because the slaughter pipeline is filled with disease. And when you have we have documented here at our organization so many diseases that these horses are sharing to each other, and also diseases that horses can share to humans that are within the slaughter pipeline. Like one horse even had diphtheria. And I mean, it's wildly crazy what we're running into, but we're diving full steam into this because this is how we're going to be able to help horses in a very significant way. And we're doing our normal buyouts and rescue missions on all of that. But it is incredibly unfair. Kathy said, so unfair. I know it's crazy that you can have rescuers trying to help, and like we can't get horses moved without. So for us, originally, when we were going to say, okay, let's help reservation horses, we were like, okay, so if they're rounded up, we're going to have a holding pen where we do Coggins, we do health certificates. They have to be held there before we can move them, which is at least a week. And the kill buyers can move them right away. But as rescuers, we have to sit tight and follow all these rules that apparently don't apply to kill buyers. So that was one loop, and we're like, what are we going to do? And within our Full Circle Life Horse Shelter Network, we have For the Love of the Hoof, and they were already rescuing horses through kill buyers and traders from the reservation. So we had a lot of conversations with them, and we're like, if a kill buyer can get a contract, why can't a rescue get a contract with the reservation to get horses right after they're rounded up? And so we went, well, that conversation happened. And then Dawn Olivieri, the Yellowstone actress, and she's on Lioness, and she's all over the place. Homestead. She's also very passionate about rescuing horses. And she's like, we can get a group of horses right after they're rounded up and they won't go to auctions because originally what's kind of happening is these horses were being rounded up off the reservation, shipped down to Texas by a kill buyer, and then they were shipped from there to Mexico. And so Dawn and I'll see it in the barn, they were all trying to intercept the horses there. But these horses are getting sick with strangles. So you imagine taking a wild horse that isn't exposed to anything and dumping it in a cesspool of disease. The horse is going to get sick. So Dawn is like, okay, let's get this group directly from this guy who has a contract with the reservation, and we'll bring them straight into our organization, and we'll get all the health certificates, the Coggins, all the stuff the state and government's going to require. And then we can send them out to other rescues and they won't be exposed to anything. This will be great. So we got 8 horses from that group, and I'm like, this is wonderful. They're healthy. And well, that's when we realized that the trailers, which, I mean, not that we realize it, we know this, but it really sank in, is that these trailers that the kill buyers are hauling horses in are just as contaminated as the auctions because they're hauling sick horses constantly. And if any state entity is worried about horse diseases, they really need to be focused at the auctions and the feedlots because it is rampant, and we have gotten so many documented cases of horrible diseases that are in auctions that horses have, even diseases that horses can give to humans. So we just rolling along with this project. We get the horses here, they're sick, we give all their swabs, we test them. One horse had diphtheria. Now, if you've done any research, and we all kind of jumped in and started researching diphtheria, diphtheria is something that is a very, very old disease. And everyone got vaccinated for it, and it's not an issue in the United States. Which leads me to my next thing of like, wait a minute, if it's not in the United States, where is it coming from? And so there has been a whole host of people interested from the state government levels of this horse that has diphtheria. And so ultimately it came down to that this horse that had diphtheria, a human had to give this horse diphtheria for the strain that it has. And it's not a strain that was in the United States. It had to come from another country. So I'm like, okay, you have horse traders taking horses from the reservation down to Texas, maybe down to Mexico, maybe down to Guatemala. Somehow there's a human in this pipeline that had diphtheria and basically would have had to sneeze or spit onto this wild horse for this horse to get diphtheria. So just wildly crazy stuff. And, for our staff, we had to make sure that they're safe and they're not going to get diphtheria. And then to test them, our team has to gear up and everything. And we've tested them again. And they have high strains of all kinds of diseases that are evident in their last test that we've done. And these are all slaughter pipeline diseases. And that's where it's like, we're worried about disease. We need to be worried about the slaughter pipeline where these horses are going. So these horses on their last test, they came back that they were still carrying diseases that humans can get. And they're also, horses within the slaughter pipeline are given a huge host of medications because these kill buyers and traders are trying to keep them healthy enough to get to slaughter without losing weight and stuff. So they pump them through full of Exceed and all these different antibiotics. And what we're seeing with these tests we're doing, which is so amazing to have 2 amazing vets at our facility that are so dedicated here. But what we're seeing is we're seeing horses that are becoming resistant, or the diseases are becoming resistant to medications, which is very scary, because basically you have horse traders and kill buyers out there just getting their hands on Exceed and all these things, and they're creating diseases that our current medications are not able to help. So that aspect is really scary. So antibiotic resistant, exactly, Dawn. Thank you. They are. It is very scary, and this is rampant within the slaughter pipeline. We have testing from Tennessee to out west of horses that have been exposed in the slaughter pipeline, and these kill buyers and traders are completely going unchecked, and it is causing havoc. And these diseases can come over to your own personal horses, and it's not good. So, like I said, I could ramble on a long time, because it's very upsetting that you have government entities scrutinizing rescues that are doing everything they possibly can to ensure that disease is not in their rescue. And you have kill buyers that are just rampant disease everywhere, and there's no oversight on them because these horses are going to slaughter. So someone's saying MRSA. We've had horses with MRSA here, and these are horses from the slaughter pipeline. Like, it's completely insane what horses have when you start testing within the slaughter pipeline. So, okay, we get the horse with diphtheria. Okay, we're like, okay, well, they're still in quarantine to this day. They are still in quarantine. We can't do anything with them other than feed them and make sure they're healthy, and they'll be tested again. So that group didn't really pan out well, getting the horses right after they're rounded up by the reservation by the contractor who would have ultimately shipped them to slaughter. So through all of that, For the Love of the Hoof contacts me and it's like, guess what? We got a contract with the reservation. I am like, amazing. So this is going to solve so many problems, because now For the Love of the Hoof can go directly to the reservation, get the horses, take them to their facility without any health certificates or Coggins, because they're in Arizona. So there's no crossing state lines. So hurrah, amazing. Check. We've got a plan to get them safely off the reservation to a rescue where they can get their health certificates and their Coggins and everything before they travel. And we know that they're being taken care of, because until the rescue actually has them, they're rounded up and there's not a lot of care. So we're getting a roundup ready next week. We'll probably get around 40 horses. And in order for a rescue like For the Love of the Hoof and us to be able to say, yes, we can help these horses, we have to have the money, the funding, everything to go get 40 wild horses. And we have very, very short notice. The kill buyers don't care. They are just happy as can be to get that phone call any day, because for them it's ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And off to Mexico they go, and they get the slaughter price for these horses. It's crazy. So anyways, we're able to get them now from the reservation to the rescue, but then we have all these wild horses. So for all these wild horses, they need a lot of care. Now, For the Love of the Hoof, if you've watched their episode, they're an amazing organization. They've gotten set up a lot to handle wild horses. So they have their facility with their chutes and everything to handle a lot of wild horses. So they're set up pretty good, but they weren't set up to handle 40 horses. So are you paying for these horses off the reservation? Okay, that's a great question. Do you think the kill buyers are paying for these horses off the reservation? And that answer is of course. So they're paying for them. So we have to pay for them as well. So we do have to purchase them, because every horse within the United States has a slaughter price on its head. So that's just one of the frustrating things that we have to deal with. But so we have to in order to rescue them, we have to pay their transport. We have to purchase them. We have to get all the stuff they need through the veterinarian and the Coggins and the health certificates. We need homes lined up for all these horses. And we also need to get them gentled. So if you've been following us, we have the Navajo Horse Gentling Project that we've been working with. We had a couple gentlers here earlier this month. They've headed back to the reservation. We also have Amber and Shane. They were here earlier. They're actually coming in. They're leaving tomorrow. And we also have other horse gentlers that we're working with. And the horse gentling program is just amazing because you have amazing, talented men and women on the reservation who are some of the best horse trainers and gentlers I've seen that nobody's talking about. They're basically not known about. So bringing them to to Horse Plus is basically we're piloting a program where they can come, they can work and learn about rescue, because rescue is very different than any other horse program they've ever come in contact with before. We can work with them, get them ready so they can go to other rescues and gentle horses. So at first we brought rescue gentlers here to our organization. And then for this group that we just got from the reservation, we've also sent them for the Love of the Hoof. But there's so much money that's needed for this program while we're getting it started. And it's, horses eat a lot of money or they eat a lot of hay, which is a lot of money. So I'm going to backtrack just a little bit here because I've got so much information. I'm like, I need to tell everyone what's going on. So the group that we got directly from the trader that was going to take them down to Mexico, super sick. So that's not going to work. Even though they didn't go to the auction, the trailers, the feedlot where they briefly were, super, super sick. So that's not going to work. And then we get the contract through the Love of the Hoof, and they say, hey, we got 20 horses. We need you to come get them. We had no time to fundraise for those 20 horses. And somebody says they don't call horses hay burners. Yes, horses eat a lot of hay. So these horses, the reservation, for the Love of the Hoof gets the contract, and then it's instantly, hey, we've got 20 horses. If we say we can't take those 20 horses, they will go to slaughter. They will go to a trader. It's not the reservation sending them to slaughter. It's the only people that are buying these horses from the reservation are kill buyers because they're shipping hundreds and hundreds of horses. So they said yes. We tried to fundraise, we're barely keeping this program afloat at this point, but we know it's so important that if we keep pushing and if people can understand the importance of it and we get more funding, we can help and get this program really rolling. So we got the 20 horses there, and we got their health certificates, their Coggins, everything, brought them back here to Tennessee. And what is the SAFE Act all about? Okay, so I'm going to pause here and talk about the SAFE Act real quick. The SAFE Act is a bill. So when we go up to Washington, D.C. and lobby, it's a bill that would end horse slaughter by adding equines to an already existing anti-dog and cat slaughter law. So that would end horse slaughter. But because the reservations across the United States have no place for their horses to go other than kill buyers, nobody wants to touch the SAFE Act, because if they do, they don't want to deal with the wild horses on reservation lands. They're like, oh, we already are dealing with wild horses on BLM lands. It'd be a nightmare if we have to, they just no. So that puts us on all of us as horse lovers to figure this out. And we are working very, very hard at Horse Plus to get this program up and going and figure it out, because if we can do it, it's going to be amazing. Who receives the slaughter price for the horses in the res? So Indian reservation itself rounds up the horses, and they're like, hey, these are the horses. Who wants them? The kill buyers are the only ones who want them. So it's not that the reservation wants to send their horses to slaughter, but that's the only option. And when I first went out to the reservation, started helping with these programs, I was like, wow, these people, they love these horses. They're like, this one guy, he's like, I can get these horses. Can you take 100? And I'm like, no, I can't take 100. But you know who can take 100? I'm thinking this when he's talking to me. I'm like, the kill buyer. No wonder the kill buyers are just swooping in and enriching themselves off of these reservation horses. So we're going to jump back into this rescue mission we were doing. So this first group of reservation horses we got, they were super sick. They came in from a kill buyer directly from the reservation. So the horses were exposed to everything within his trailers. The next group don't have any slaughter pipeline exposure at all. They're rounded up on the reservation, sold directly to For the Love of the Hoof. The vets come in, do the health certificates, Coggins. They're transported directly here to Tennessee. Now, my mind is like, okay, so the first group of horses came in really sick. Let's test these guys and see if we see any of the sicknesses that we saw in the first group, because maybe they're getting sick on the reservation. Horses came back clean as a whistle. So the disease factor is all about the slaughter pipeline. So cutting out the slaughter pipeline completely for these reservation horses is the key. And we're documenting this all with testing and like every possible way we can to ensure that we're getting all the scientific data behind these rescues, because we want this program to go huge and we need all the evidence we can. So after that first group of 20, we get another call. There's 40 horses. Can you take them? You don't, unless you've been in that situation and you have the call, we have 40 horses. Can you take them? And if you say we can't take them, they'll go to slaughter. The other aspect of this is we're trying to build up this program so that the reservation's like, hey, this is sustainable for us to send horses for the first time to rescues. As long as they're paying what we can get, the other guy's paying for them, we're good. So we don't want to just say no as they round up these horses. So we say yes. We came together with All Seed in the Barn, Don Olivieri. We're all fundraising to try to help this, but fundraising is really slow this time of year. We're approaching the holidays and okay, we've got, these 50 horses. Well, yeah, it's 40 horses. And they round up the first group, and For the Love of the Hoof goes and gets them. And then they round up the second group. Well, guess what? There was an extra 10 horses. So For the Love of the Hoof is there, and they're like, hey, we got these extra 10 horses. There's these beautiful horses. If we say no, we know what's going to happen to them. So the rescue of 40 horses became 50. And all these horses got taken to For the Love of the Hoof. Now, if you watch the Love of the Hoof episode, you'll realize they have to haul all their water to their rescue in trucks. So that means they are hauling enough water for 50 horses and all the food and everything. It's a lot. So why doesn't the reservation take responsibility? They don't have a lot of funding on the reservations. They have a lot of wild horses there. They don't know what to do. I think just like most of America, you don't want to actually think that horses are going to slaughter. Most people are like, they don't even know that they're going to slaughter. You can talk to some horse people and they're, what? Horses are going to slaughter? What do you mean? And unless you're watching Horse Plus and learning, you can be blissfully ignorant. And I know from the situation that the knowledge that I have from working with the reservation horses and all of these things, that basically it's like we rounded up these horses. We hope this guy is giving them a good home, but we have no other option for them. Um, and I think a lot of these people that are getting horses for slaughter from the reservation are lying to them and like, hey, what's happening to them? And like, oh, we're finding good places for them to go. We have a big pasture. And they're not telling them what happens once they get back to their feedlot is they're shipping them to slaughter. Um, there's been so much education and knowledge wrapped around the BLM Mustangs. There has hardly been any education wrapped around reservation horses and what's happening to them and their roundups and all of these things. So, what you're experiencing, what we're experiencing, and what you're experiencing is all these questions. Is why isn't this happening? Because nobody's ever said, "Hey, look, how can we help?" You have all these horses on your reservation. And like I said earlier, there's no fences that are keeping horses off from BLM land to the reservations. And I'm not saying this is happening, but I'm hearing a lot about it, is BLM horses maybe being pushed onto reservation land so the BLM doesn't have to worry about it. And then that makes the reservations have to worry about it. Not 100% sure, but from being out on the reservations and everything, I do not see how this isn't happening. So the rumors, I feel like, are probably very true. It's this, if we're going to fix what horses need and we want the slaughter pipeline to end, we have to look at this and we have to say, what are we going to do to fix it? And there's just a whole lot of fixing that needs to be done, but we can't come to it from a critical angle of like, well, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they being responsible? No, we have to come as we're here to help, and we have to look at the solution of helping these horses, and we have to look at a solution of what's it going to take to make this happen. And we have to, if anyone comes into this negatively, and I'm asking all of you, if you see anything, BLM meaning Bureau of Land Management. So if somebody says BLM horses, they're talking about horses that are rounded up off the Bureau of Land Management property. So basically government property. So BLM is government land. Hopefully that clears it up for you. So with all of this happening, we're like, okay, how are we going to significantly help these horses? We have to provide positive programs for reservation horses. And I think I got sidetracked here, but I was going to ask you all is if you see anything that we're talking about the reservation, we're talking about the gentling program, we're working with reservations, please post positive comments. They're reading these comments. And when we have people on our site posting negative comments, that's not going to help us at all build relationships and work with gentlers and work with the Navajo government and all these reservations. We have to be supportive, and we have to look at it as a way of like, look, what are we going to do to fix this? We have to love all people. Thank you. That's what we have to. We have to be supportive. And even though we don't understand everything, even though we don't follow everyone's mindset, if there is trying to be a positive force to make positive change, please be positive with your comments. Because it's very hurtful. I know, like, some of the Navajo gentlers, it's the very first time they're ever even off the reservation. And, maybe they're wearing tennis shoes, and you have everyone bashing them for wearing tennis shoes on social media. they're going to read that. And how do you think that makes them feel? Maybe it's their first time off the reservation. They come here, they're being filmed on YouTube, and they go and read it. Please, please be supportive. This is such a crucial program, and we all need to lift up this program and show support and show kindness and show understanding. If we jump down the rabbit hole of being negative, this program is not going to happen. And thousands more horses are going to go to slaughter. One of the things that happens up in Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C. is such an eye-opening place, is they're like, so you have the Cattlemen's Association. They're all up there with their cowboy hats. They look like they got it together, and they are together. They're a united front. On the horse rescue front, you have everyone fighting. You have nobody getting along. You have everyone has a way better idea than the next person. And basically, they're like, we don't have to worry about the slaughter issue because, well, for number one, what's the reservation going to do? But the horse rescuers are never going to get it together to present a united front. And it is incredibly frustrating. We've spent over the last 5 years building a network of organizations that are supporting each other and being a united front. And, you know, for 20, almost 22 years now, we have been on the front lines and nothing has changed. And that's when we started going to Washington, D.C. and saying, okay, what's it going to take to end this cruelty and the barbaric things we see within the slaughter pipeline? And, well, it's going to take everyone getting unified and stop bickering and downing other rescues and working together and being a united front and supporting programs like helping horses that are on the reservation. So I know I'm going down a whole other thing, and it is just so important. So please, thank you so much, Anonymous, for your $50 donation. We desperately need money to get this program rolling. It is such an important program with these reservation horses, but please just support and encourage. And, you know, with the, with some of the gentlers, you know, the last ones, they did read negative comments and it hurt them. And we can't be doing that. Like, this program and these gentlers are so important to get this program going. We have to be supportive and we have to encourage them. And being negative it's detrimental to the horses, and we can't have that happen. So somebody's jumping to the gun, being like, a competition similar to if you go to Wild Horse Res, you will see that we are already getting a Wild Horse Reservation challenge going, where there'll be gentlers working with reservation horses. It's on my notes. I'm getting all sidetracked and not getting down to the bottom of it. So I'm going to come back to, and if you're just joining us, we're talking about the wild horses on the reservations. We are needing support for this, but there's so many questions. I'm like, I'm just going to jump on and do a live and try to answer as many questions as I can. So I really appreciate all the 274 people that are on here. Please give a thumbs up to this video so YouTube algorithms can get it out there more. The more interactions that we get, the more YouTube will put it out there. So it's very important to do interactions. So with the second group of horses came out directly from the reservation for the Love of the Hoof, 2 Horse Plus. We did all this testing on them, perfectly good. And so then we have this group of 50. We are still actively fundraising, trying to cover all the cost. So we have brought 20 of them here. There's some beautiful horses, Appaloosas, paints, gorgeous horses. And we have more horse gentlers coming out that have already come here. And they're going to be helping with these horses and getting them gentled. We already sent out to the For Love of the Hoof, because there was, I think, 12 to 15 baby horses that For Love of the Hoof got in this group of 50. And Leland, so if you follow our work, Leland, he came out here from, well, first we went out to the Navajo Nation to meet him. And then he came out to Horse Plus, and he told us, he's like, I can take a wild horse and in 3 days be riding it. And I'm like, really? I'd love to see it. And we gave Leland, when he was out here, one of our most challenging horses we've had. She's been here like a year. Trainers have tried to work with her. Everyone gave up on her. And Leland came here, and within 3 days, she had a saddle on her back and she was calm. And it's utterly amazing what these gentlers can do. And so then we had Shane and Amber. They came out, and they're leaving tomorrow to come back out here. We had Ryan out here. And awesome. The true horse whisperers, yes, that has passed down generation of knowledge of connections with these wild horses. So thank you so much. It's 160. And 50. Thank you so much for these donations coming in. We need support for this program. And it is definitely crucial. So right after the For Love of the Hoof got these horses, I asked Leland, I'm like, hey, can you go out to the For Love of the Hoof and gentle these horses? And I said, okay, how fast can you gentle a baby horse? And he's like, 5 minutes. He's got a great sense of humor. I'm like, 5 minutes. Wow. I think it was 5 minutes. It was really, really fast. But it wasn't quite 5 minutes. They did get 12 baby horses gentled. So they're easy to catch. You can halter them. You can pick up their feet and tie them, lead them. They got 12 done in just 3 or 4 days. So amazing. We need horse gentlers to work with the adult horses. So right now, the only thing that's holding us back is there's still 35 horses in Arizona that we're helping to cover their feet, and we need more round pens. So these are wild horses. We have to have the tall 6 foot tall panel round pens, so wild horses don't jump out of them. So we need about $6,000 to get more round pens, and we can have more gentlers go there. So right now, already, it's only fair that we pay these gentlers for the amazing work that they do. So we paid Leland to go. He got these horses gentled. He is waiting for us basically on funding and these round pins that we need. So we need about $6,000 for round pens. And that way we can have more gentlers come. Thank you so much, Kathy, for your $50 donation. So with the $6,000, we'd be able to have 3 more round pens. We could have 3 gentlers there gentling horses. And they can take, within 2 days, a wild horse from being completely scared and traumatized to calm, relaxed, leading, picking up their feet. And these horses are very adoptable. They're healthy, they're adoptable. So the goal with this program is we want to come to a place where we can actually get these horses from the reservation transported to the For Love of the Hoof. And this is all very quickly, and we're hoping we can do it. Oh, thank you so much for the $500 donation, Dawn. You are amazing. I'm so incredibly grateful. You can always buy used round pen. We can, but it's very difficult. The question is, we can always buy used round pen. We have to buy the enforced 6 foot tall round pens. And that is very difficult. You can buy lots of used shorter panels, but wild horses will jump over them, and they have to be heavy enforced panels, because if a wild horse jumps onto it and it's a heavy panel, the panels won't bend. The cheaper panels, like typically the used panels, they might have come from like a Tractor Supply or something. They are not as strong. So if a wild horse goes and jumps on it, it will actually bend down and crush. And if their legs are stuck in there, the panel can crash around their legs. It's very dangerous. So we have to get really good quality panels. So if we can get these horses off the reservation, like, hey, we got a week to fundraise, they're going to be rounding them up. We're going to move them from the reservation to For Love of the Hoof. We don't have to do health certificates or Coggins because it's all in state. We can move them to these holding pens on For Love of the Hoof, and we can have gentlers come just a couple hours drive from the reservation, come and gentle these horses. And the more round pens we have, the more gentlers we can have, gentling these horses, getting them ready for their new futures, and getting them into homes. And that's the key here. So ideally, if I can just take you on a little imaginary trip, we get a call. There are 40 reservation horses that are being rounded up. Before we even go there, we have raised enough money to care for these horses, do their purchase, their transport, and have gentlers ready to start gentling these horses. Within a week, all of these horses are leading, standing tied, picking up their feet. We can get health certificates. We can get homes pledging for these horses. And I can tell you, these horses are beautiful and flashy, and a lot of the colors you just don't see other places. Like their bloodlines are amazing. And so if we can get all these horses taken care of very quickly, and with the gentlers we can get their health certificates. We can, as soon as they're rounded up, we can start taking pledges for them and get them into homes and transported from there. This is a very sustainable program. We just need it to get funding. And let's see, did you guys? Yeah, there's a lot of Appaloosas that come in the herds and paints. So we can do this. This program is so sustainable, and we're already working on a Wild Horse Res challenge. So this would be horses rounded up from reservations being placed with native horse gentlers and being gentled, and then coming together. And I'm working with Don Olivieri on this, and it's going to be quite the amazing thing. We're planning a red carpet event in Los Angeles to raise awareness about this and hopefully get more funding. But until we get more funding, this is a very grassroots effort. And, it's a struggle to keep all of this going. But I'm sure we're going to be able to get more support. It's just right now, it's we definitely need support to build this program up. But it's so crucially important and ultimately can help end horse slaughter. Cynthia. Are you guys going to be allowed to view the challenge? So the challenge will definitely be filmed. And basically how it's going to be is an experience. There'll be a powwow at the end of the 90-day challenge or 30-day challenge that these gentlers have with these horses. And it's going to be it's a very nature experience. So, thank you so much for the $50 donation. So this, if you can just imagine these gentlers getting these wild horses, they're gentling them. They're getting them ready for this challenge. And then there's a powwow event, and this powwow event would be supporting Native heritage. And it's not going to be like in an arena or like commercialized. It's going to be in nature. So you maybe have teepees, you have different experiences you can do while these horses are being evaluated on their training abilities. And then at the end of this 3-day event, these horses will be rehomed through a auction that's not a slaughter auction by any means. These are be rehomed to qualified homes. And the money that's coming from these horses will go back to the horse gentlers, because it's very hard for them to provide for their families and everything. There's not a lot of support. So it's going to be utterly amazing. And your support is going to be really critical to get it going. But the biggest challenge that we're having right now is for all these horses that we're rescuing and we're placing and gentling, we need support. So our goal with this is to make a program, maybe 5 years from now, where there's actually training facilities on the reservation, and we're utilizing the amazing talent that they have on their home property, their home areas, and we're able to create a sustainable program where these horses are being gentled, transferred to other rescues for adoption, and then offered, for adoption. And we can do this. It's just going to take a lot of work. And so I'm just so incredibly grateful for everyone sticking around and hearing what we're doing. I hope this video has answered some of your questions. And in the comments, or actually, we'll just update the video in the description, but we'll put a link of the first reservation rescue we did, and it's pretty exciting. So thank you all so much, and your support is so needed. If you're not a subscriber or a member on our channel here, it's like $10 a month. It goes to help fund the rescue of, I think we can rescue 5 more horses every month because of our members, our members on YouTube. Definitely subscribe to our channel so you can follow along and see all these crazy things that we're doing to help horses. And thank you so much for watching. You all are utterly amazing, and thank you each and every person for your donations and your support. And please share this video for anyone who wants to learn more of what's happening within the slaughter pipeline and reservation horses. So thank you so much.